Hi, everyone, and welcome to Strategic Wealth Strategies with our host, Alan Porter. Alan, what's going on, man? How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. Weather's a little cool here, but not as cold as it is in Texas.
Oh, it's freezing, 30 degrees, 20 degrees, freezing rain, feels like the Northeast. I'm ready. I'm ready for it, but we only get 1 or 2 weeks of winter, and then we'll be good to go. Maybe a week of winter. I think it's like 3 or 4 days, and it gets back to 50 or 60. So at least not snowstorm like last year. All
Yeah.
right. So what is our topic for today? What are we going to cover?
Well, I want to do a short PowerPoint presentation on a sequence of returns risk because a lot of people don't understand it. And I want to discuss some other risk in retirement. Now, we've done a podcast on the risk in retirement, but I want to go in a deeper detail because people are not understanding because it'll decimate their retirement in the later years. So I got a short PowerPoint presentation. I want to bring it up. Okay.
All right, great. Sequence returns risk is something that people don't understand. If the market continues to be poor, that could just decimate you if we're in a bad economy where you're all you've been waiting for and saving goes up in smokes, and we're going to learn about that, right? Or a lot of it.
Yeah. And a lot of the examples I give, if you're within 3 years before you retire or 3 years after you retire, and you have a loss in your 401k or qualified plan, and this is in my PowerPoint, it shows a 20 years segment, but I usually do in a 10-year segment because it shows the same thing. But if you have that loss in the beginning, when you start taking money out, as compared to the last 3 years of a 10-year period, you're probably out of money within the seventh or eighth year. And the reason being is because you're taking money out of a depleting asset and putting nothing back in. But I think this pretty well explains it. So what I want to do is, people said they hope for the best, but you got to plan for the worst. Another big thing, a lot of financial advisors don't tell their clients about this because they get paid a fee whether the client makes money or not. And they want that fee to be paid off a much larger amount of money. Well, like I said, it's just because a simple run of bad luck early in retirement can turn your financial life upside down. If you're planning to rely on the stock market investments for retirement income, you're hoping for the best. But I'm telling you, that's not a optimal retirement, not even near an optimal retirement. Now, what I want to show you, I want to look at two financial retirees, Bob and Ted. They both have $500,000 and invest in this identical index fund when they retire, but an order sequence of the returns is reversed, and it's gonna change a whole lot of things. Now, Bob has 121% index change. Ted's got 121% index change. Index change the first year is 44% till minus 40%. That year after 20 years is the same. But see, understand this. They haven't taken any money out. But the big thing with no withdrawals, Bob and Ted realize the same thing. But what people need to understand, I'll show you here in this crap. In this example, let me go back here. See, here's the losses in the last 3 years for Bob. Here's the losses in the first 3 years for Ted.
Okay.
Right now, if they didn't take any money out, they'd be exactly the same, $1,103,000. But here's what really happens: when they start taking that money out, Bob still has $550,879 in this nest egg after 20 years. Well, guess what happened to Ted? He had money in year 19.
Wow.
It's exactly the same, but it's a sequence of returns that makes the difference. When you retire, you can make all the difference. When you include withdrawals, negative index returns early can really hurt you, and they can destroy your retirement. And here's proof in the pudding right here. It's phenomenal what happens when you have a withdrawing money from your 401k or any qualified plan or anything like that in the early years as compared to the later years. It will absolutely decimate your retirement. This is a type of financial risk known as sequence return risk. You might call it luck of the draw. Plan for the worst by diversifying your retirement, including sources like guaranteed income, like annuities. I have fixed and fixed indexed annuities that that I promote. And what the great thing about these annuities, Neil, is in certain annuities, let's say that you have a $1 million stock portfolio and a 4% distribution rate, that's $40,000 a year, correct?
Right. Yeah.
You'd only have to have approximately $650,000 in an annuity to give you the same distribution rate of 4%, $40,000 for the rest of your life, and that's guaranteed. There's nothing guaranteed in a stock market analysis, nothing. You could take the rest of that $350,000 if you want to buy another financial vehicle or pay the taxes and still have money left and turn that annuity into a Roth annuity, Roth IRA. Because when people start taking their money out, they think they're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, I got news for you. And I've done all this before, Congressional Budget Office reports, because of our massive debt. It's going to be till around 2030. They're talking about increasing taxes overall by over 60%. And, people could be in the 12% tax bracket right now. They'll be in a 25% tax bracket. That's going to happen in 2026, January 1st. And, it's not all, but the majority of them are. But people need to become aware of what taxes will do to your retirement. I mean, I tell people, it's not how much money you have in retirement. It's how much money you have after taxes. And a stock portfolio cannot protect you from risk in retirement. Longevity risk, which is a risk multiplier. Every time the older you get, the other risk in retirement multiply. Long-term care. And the number one risk in retirement, Neil, running out of money before you run out of life. That's the number one fear in retirement. But I can show people how to have an optimal retirement. They say, well, I'm diversified. You're not diversified in your stocks and bonds. You're not diversified. You may be diversified in a different category, but stocks, when they go down, they go down. Some go down more than others. And people understand if you have a 50% loss in the market, it takes 100% gain just to get back to even. The European index or stock market is still down after 20 years. Japan's not recovered in 30 years. And back in 2008, when we lost anywhere from 38 to 52%, we didn't get back in the market until the fall of 2017. And then we had a lost decade in 2000 to 2009. I think the market lost something like 4%. Indexing strategies gained 5% because we're not tied to the market. And that's one of the things I tell people. I may not make you the richest person in the world, but I can guarantee you that you'll have a comfortable income to where you're going to have the optimal income because you're going to have a diversified portfolio. Not only will you have stocks and bonds, you'll have guaranteed income, such as annuities and cash value life insurance.
Right.
You'll have tax-free income, such as an IRA or cash value life insurance, which grows tax deferred and you get your distributions tax-free. And here's the great thing. It doesn't affect taxation of Social Security or the means testing for Medicare Part B, which is going to be in the thousands per year. And one of the things I tell people, I said, why do you contribute to a 401k? Well, it's a tax deduction. I said, no, it's a tax compounder. Because what would you rather do? What do you think the government wants you to do? Pay taxes on the seed, your contribution, or the harvest when it's grown for 30 years? Well, obviously, they want the taxes on the harvest because they're going to get the largest amount of money.
Totally.
We've got $31 trillion deficit, and they're figuring all kinds of ways to tax our retirement. I think we've got something like $33 trillion in our retirement funds, and they're going to figure out a way to tax that to help pay off the debt. In 2030, Social Security is scheduled to run out of money. Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security are going to take over 70%, I think even more than that, of our national budget. And people need to prepare for this. I can protect you from these things, but I need people to talk to somebody, talk to a properly trained financial professional, not just somebody who sells stocks and bonds. I'm a registered investment advisor. I have a team of people that I work with. If you want stocks and bonds, I have a team of people that will do that. But I have top CPAs, tax-specific attorneys, and other specialists in their fields, and we collaborate together to give people the solutions for their financial problems. It's a matter of education, and this again, I can't say that enough. It's a matter of education. People need to know. I tell people you spend more time planning your summer vacation than you do your retirement. And they said, well, I guess you're right, because it doesn't seem important at the time. It doesn't seem important when you're 40 or 50. But when you get 55 and you start to look at things and you look down there and you got this 401k, and the average amount of, I think, a 401k right now is $135,000.
Gosh.
That's not going to do anything for anybody.
You know, Alan, people that would say, and this is a question I'm asking because I mean, I'm learned so much. And when people ask me questions, I tell them about you. I said, you got to talk to Alan Porter. Well, they said, well, how can cash value life insurance or annuities or really beat what the stock market does? Why are they constantly still going back to the stock market, earning, some years 20%, 18, 16, and then it just dissipates? What do you say based on the average rate of return for an annuity, or which is guaranteed, or a cash value life insurance is much lower than the rate of return for the stock market?
So here's the thing: people don't understand. One of the advisors I was talking to, I had a client of his, and he came to my office, and I showed him about cash value life insurance, how it grows tax deferred, you get your distributions tax free, does not affect taxation of Social Security, or the means test of Medicare Part B. And so we're going to meet on a Thursday. His advisor calls me up Wednesday, and he says, Alan, I appreciate what you're trying to do for my client, but I'm going to tell him not to do it. I said, why is that? He says, Alan, because life insurance is too expensive. I said, okay, well, listen, I'll come over to your office, or you can come to mine. I'll explain that, why you think it's expensive. Well, I don't have time. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what. You either come to my office today, and I'll explain why it's not expensive. Or when we have that meeting with your client tomorrow, I'm going to throw you under the bus. So he showed up. And the first thing I said to him, I said, I agree with you. Cash value life insurance is expensive. It's expensive up front. It's an inverted expense. As your cash value gets closer to the death benefit, the cost of insurance goes down. And if you hold a cash value life insurance policy for 20 to 30 years, you're probably paying anywhere from 0.5% to 0.75% in charges, in the average. Understand this: the average fee in a 401k is 2.99%. And a 1% fee over a 30-year period will reduce your income by 1/3. I've got videos that cover all this. I've got third-party articles that cover all this, but people do not know about it. I mean, just like one at 60 minutes, I think it's a 3-minute video. And they're on there and show how the 401k is a disaster. And they've got one of these lobbyists for Wall Street in there. They're asking them, why don't you disclose the fees? And the guy goes, well, we know their fees. They'd like to have the fees in there, but we want to make it simple. And the announcer said, yeah, you want to make it simple because you guys are making a killing. You're making all these billions and billions of dollars, but you're not informing the clients of that. And he says, well, and just him housing around. It's unbelievable. But there's other things. Ed Slott, one of the top IRA experts in the United States by USA Today, I've got videos by him telling about tax conversion and how a Roth IRA or Roth cash value life insurance is so much better than a stock portfolio where you have to, especially in retirement. Now, here's the thing. If you got a fee, let's say, and I've got software that shows this. Let's say that you're making let's say you're making an 8.5% average return on your 401k.
Okay. And is that usually the average that's happening per year? Or
no, it's much below that.
Okay.
It's much below that. But let's say that you have an 8% average return. And let's say the fees are only 2%. So you're only netting 6%. Well, in a stock portfolio, that's not bad, but that's not going to make you a lot of money because you got taxes on top of that. And it depends on what tax bracket you're in. I mean, they're talking, in 2030, they're talking taxes for the wealthy at 66% just for federal, not state. And people don't understand taxes for the highest tax bracket during World War II were over 94%. It's just in the 1970s, they were over 70%. People are not prepared for this. I mean, just like we've got inflation that's out of control. They say it's what, 8%, 8.9 or something. Right. That's not even close because they don't take into account the cost of fuel and the cost of food. It's more like 15%. And that's something that's wrong with the European market right now. That European nations, their average inflation rate is over 10%. China has zero growth in their GDP this year. And that's the world economy. If something happens, the whole world's going to be affected. And like Van Mueller said, we interviewed him last week. He said, no, we're going to survive this, but everybody's going to be at a much lower standard of living. And if they protect themselves, they don't have to have this affect them. And that's why I tell people, you've got to talk to somebody that's competent about everything that's involved, not just somebody that advises you on stocks and bonds.
Makes complete sense. Best place people can go to see you, Alan. Where can they go?
Well, you can always call me at 910-551-1046 or email me at strategicwealth, the number 0 at gmail.com. And my website, I don't have it up here, I should, but it's www.alanporternc for North Carolina, that's where I live, .com/strategic wealth strategy. But the easiest thing is just give me a call at 910-551-1046. If I don't answer, I'm probably with another client or talking with somebody to work on some of these people's problems. But just give me a call, 910-551-1046, and I'll call you right back.
All right, Alan, this is a great show. And it really shows you, I think talking numbers is a very interesting thing because they all talk about if you're in a stock portfolio and you have your money for 20 years, they always talk about, specifically with mutual funds, you're going to have this much in 10 years.
Well, it's just like Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey, they'll say invest $100 when you start with 25, invest $100 every month until you're 60 or whatever, you'll have over 1.1. That's provided you don't have any losses. They don't say that, and they don't talk about taxes.
No.
See, nobody talks about taxes. And I ask people, especially doctors, what's your biggest expense? Well, my practice, my employee. No, your biggest expense is taxes.
Taxes. Yep. The higher tax bracket, the more you're spending, more you're paying taxes. And then it becomes, and you have to figure out ways of doing that. And Alan is the man. So appreciate Alan. Such a great show again, and appreciate it.
Thank you much.
All right. That was Strategic Wealth Strategies, guys. Take care.